What's happening, everybody? Welcome in Southeastern 16, another edition of Bets and Ball Games with Edwards and Greeson. We are recording at about 12:50 Eastern on Thursday, and we are sponsored by the good people at Bet Online, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of 200 large. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here. All right, Jay Greeson, what's happening?
Not much, my man. If you won 200 large, what's the first thing you're buying?
Good question. Down payment on a house?
I mean, I got one of those. I don't know if I don't know. I want like a 1974 Bronco that the top comes off.
Uh-huh.
Those things are so choice.
I hear you. I hear little pep in Jay's step today. He's off a W. I'm off an L, but I'm used to. What have we lost? 7 in a row against FBS competition. Anywho, we start with the good, bad, and ugly from the previous week every week. So, how about your good from week 3 in the SEC, Jay?
Well, we got to start with my man downtown Hanky Brown, don't we? And
Sure.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you're Hank Brown, would you not consider changing your name to Hash Brown and then demanding huge NIL dollars from Waffle House?
Ah, that's a good idea.
I mean,
That's a good idea.
we're spitballing, but
He's got several more years of college left, so that's NIL earnings. So I mean, he can probably just go to the courthouse and take care of that name change real quick.
and well, it was. We talked about it even before it was announced last week that it was the only decision that Hugh Freeze could make. It was time for everybody's mental health on the plains to be done with the Peyton Thorne experiment, and Hank Brown delivered in the moment. Now it was New Mexico, and I think he's going to struggle this week. I think Auburn's in for a rude awakening against an Arkansas team that's going to score a lot of points, but it is at least after 1 week. Hank Brown 1-0.
I hear you. Okay, the good. Now let's be clear that Luke Fickell's tenure at Wisconsin has been a massive, massive disappointment to date. But you go up to Camp Randall, you're up 21-3 at half, 28-3 mid third quarter, and you just roll to a 42-10 win. That's good stuff. And I'm going to mainly point to Jalen Milroe, 12 of 17 throwing the ball, 196 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 14 rushing attempts, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. He is now on the season 8-0 TD-INT ratio, 156 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So that's 14 tutties by my count through 3 games and no turnovers, unless he has got a fumble in there that I did not see or haven't noticed in the stats. And also the freshman Ryan Williams, still 17 years old, 4 catches, 78 yards, touchdown. He is the next great Bama wide receiver. All right, the bad for you.
One quick follow-up question. Is that game different if Wisconsin's quarterback doesn't get hurt on the first drive?
Not really. I mean, it's still lopsided. I mean, maybe Wisconsin scores 17-20, but not in my mind.
No, I agree with you. I think it's fair. I'm going to say the bad for me was overestimating who I thought Vandy might be. And I mean, we are bona fide Diego Pavia fans on here on Bets and Ball Games, but they went to Georgia State, and not only they lose, they didn't. Georgia State looked like the better football team.
I will give you a tidbit that I wasn't aware of. Pavia was banged up. In fact, our colleague here at Southeastern 16, Chris Lee, who has covered Vandy for decades, he said Pavia was really limping bad in warmups, but apparently they gave him a shot and he was okay. But and I mean, it wasn't really. It was the defense that cost him the game for the most part. But Pavia is a little dinged up. Now, how he is this week, I haven't asked Chris or seen anything on the internet, but just throwing that out. And were you done with your bad?
Yeah, yeah. I mean that was a bad look. I mean, especially for a team that we had high hopes for after an amazing win to start the year over Virginia Tech. This is, you just gave it right back. So
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, you Andrew Clark Lee, you're on the hot seat. You're not so much on the hot seat. You start 3-0. Now you're right back on the hot seat. You can't go. And I mean, Georgia State just changed their coach. They lost Granger, their I want to say he was a 4-year starter. Even back to that scare Georgia State gave Auburn on the Plains, 3 or 4 years ago. But anywho, my bad is Mississippi State. One of the more embarrassing performances in program history. I mean, I know Toledo is one of the top programs in the MAC, right there with Northern Illinois, but and and but I mean, you can't trail a MAC team at home 28-3 at halftime and 35-3 with 6 minutes left in the third quarter. That's not acceptable. Mississippi State, they might have had more fans emptying that building than Florida did against A&M. So that's my bad, Mississippi State. You're ugly.
my ugly will be the 3 hours I wasted watching the replay of Georgia, Kentucky. I mean, dear gosh, that was just, I mean, that was like eye-bleedingly bad football. I mean, and I'll say this too, and on a quick side note, how bad do you feel around the country if you've got quarterback questions like your bunch, like my bunch? I mean, Hank Brown is better than Peyton Thorne, but he's not the solution. And then you look up and Arch Manning comes off the bench. Texas maybe has two of the best three quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, I couldn't believe the speed he had on that long run. I mean, not only was nobody not catching him, he was breaking further away from the pack
All right.
on that
Quick
run.
side note, quick tangent outside the SEC. Did you see the referee run down Justin Jefferson on the Vikings 97-yard touchdown? I mean, that dude was cooking.
Outstanding.
I mean, it was
outstanding athleticism.
Tremendous.
And then he moved to a little back pedal to go sideways. Yeah, it was awesome. That was one of the highlights of the week.
That guy to get like a number 45 in the San Francisco secondary or something. I mean, that guy was smoking.
Yeah, yes, I saw that.
Ryan,
and it was awesome.
Ryan, we've done the good, we've done the bad. The platform is yours. Share your love for Billy Bob Napier.
I'm going to try to not spend much time on it, to be honest. I mean, it's such a shit show. But I've been saying that for weeks, if not a year or so. But yeah, that had to be the most miserable day in the swamp ever. You have I think it was a 48-minute lightning or thunderstorm delay, and 2 sets of halftime adjustments from Billy Napier, if you will. Wow, boy, he was figuring things out quick, huh? Man, it is so bad. And what a misleading final. I mean, that thing was 33-7, game, set, match, early third quarter. Just gross. I wrote down some stats as the game was being played with 113 left in the second quarter. It was somehow a two-possession game and 13-0 A&M, but 113 left in the second. 15-2 advantage in first downs for A&M. 289 to 236 advantage in total yards. 22 minutes 24 seconds to 6:23 time of possession advantage. Then at half they extended it to 20-0, 18-3 advantage in first downs, 45-19 in plays. That was absolutely disgusting. And Florida is awful. And let's just lead right into it since they're at noon Eastern Saturday at Mississippi State. And more bad news for the Gators. Star receiver, probably the best player on the team, Eugene Wilson, will miss the second straight game of the lower body injury suffered at practice 2 Mondays ago. And also two of the better gets from the portal, certainly on the defensive side of the ball. The D lineman, Joey Slackman, who was a 4-star transfer from Penn, he's out. And Asa Turner, the safety from Washington, he is out. And Billy Napier, during his tenure at Florida, has been a favorite 12 times, 3-8-1 against the spread. But if we go back and combine those numbers with his last 2 years at Louisiana, he is in his last 29 games as a favorite, 9-19-1 against the spread. Now, Mississippi State's been awful. We just talked about it. But two good things they got going for them. Blake Shapen's playing good ball, 70.1 completion percentage, 834 passing yards, 7-1 TDI&T ratio, and Louisville transfer wide receiver Kevin Coleman, fourth in the SEC in all-purpose yards, averaging 17.9 yards per touch. He has 16 catches, 268 yards, 3 touchdowns, and on 5 punt returns, he's averaging 23.4 yards per punt return. Head coaching advantage, Miss State. QB advantage, Miss State. Florida without its best player, Wilson. 2 key players on defense. Love Mississippi State plus the 6.
Are both of these programs looking for a coach in come December?
I mean, Mississippi State just did a one. The guy Arnett didn't even last a year and fired him. Surely they can't. I mean, people talk about Florida firing coaches every 3 or 4 years. You cannot fire back-to-back head coaches in 1 year. I mean, do they have the finances for that anyway? I don't know what kind of contract Libby got.
No, I mean, and I agree with you. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Napier. I'm surprised Napier's. We're not talking about Napier already getting canned because Saturday was a disaster across every metric. You're right. The final score was misleading, and I mean, truth be told, it was the perfect scenario for what could have been, should have been a feather in the cap win. I mean, I know Marcel Reed is a good dude and can play, but you're talking about a Texas A&M team that we did not know who they were with a backup quarterback. You're at home. You've got the place rocking, and it's sold out.
Sorry.
So, I mean, it's not to throw more coal into your steam engine of that you're going to drive your pickup truck straight to Gainesville and try to hit Billy Bob with your automobile. But it's just I don't know who can we trust Billy Bob to outcoach in college football. Is there anyone?
Nope. Nobody. And sorry for having a little technical difficulties there. I know we were having some StreamYard issues early in the week, but it seems to have worked itself out. And so I missed part of your lovely soliloquy just now. I wish I would have been there for all of it. I'm sure it was bashing of Billy Bob at a blistering pace, and I can appreciate that. But so, did you have a play on this game, or is this stay
Well, I
away
mean,
because
I
both teams are
think
low?
your side is 100% accurate. I mean, the only play is Mississippi State. They're at home. Florida's best player and two meaningful defensive guys they've got are probably going to be in street clothes. The quarterback scenario of, I mean, either give it to DJ or go back to the drop back passer, but just pick a horse and ride. I mean, this every other series stuff is crap.
Yeah, well, his quote this week was he's going to start off alternating them series, and then it's open ended. I guess maybe after a quarter or so that he goes with the hot hand.
The
We shall.
Spurrier can do that.
We shall.
Spurrier can do that. You know why? Because he's Spurrier. Billy, find a guy, give him the ball, and say, here's what we're going to do. Because it's not like they're the same dude. They're completely different players. So, I mean, cater your offense and then go. No, the only play here Saturday in Starkville is Mississippi State.
Well, I certainly concur. Okie dokie. So, starts in the SEC. I see we have 12:45 Ohio at Kentucky on the SEC network. This is a pass for me. Who knows how Kentucky reacts to losing such a heartbreaker as pass for you as well?
A complete
Ohio,
pass.
Kentucky.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, thank you in either
Yes,
direction.
yeah. All right. So I'm not necessarily going in order of the kickoff times. I'm just so Texas and ULM. That's a complete pass for me. Although I would not scold anyone if they want to lay that monster number. All right. So are we both passing on Texas and ULM?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. Ole Miss, Georgia Southern. So it was 35 at last look. Let me see if I can find it here. And you go ahead with any analysis you have on this one.
Well, I have said now for multiple weeks that Tennessee and Ole Miss are my LSU from last year. So
Yep.
I'm riding this horse till it bucks me. And I'm gonna take Ole Miss minus a 22.5 in the first half line against Georgia Southern.
Yeah, so I'm seeing our good friends at Bet Online have 23.5 for Ole Miss in the first half, and for the game, they have moved from 35 to 36. The total is 67. I'm not a guy that likes to lay a ton of points, but I am totally okay with laying it with Ole Miss. Now, I prefer 35, which you can get at Caesars, and you could have got an hour or two ago at some other spots. But I agree with Jay. And he's, we talked about LSU and USC overs last year, all year. Jay has proclaimed that betting Ole Miss and Tennessee is going to be a similar strategy, and I don't blame him. And I will remind people that Georgia Southern did give up 56 points at home to Boise State, so they are not. They can give up 50 and change. All right. Yeah, so Jay likes Ole Miss. I lean Ole Miss if you can get 35. UCLA at LSU. Now, not many players left at either program from the 2021 ass beating that UCLA gave LSU in the season opener when Coach O told that sissy boy blue shirt you got on. Did you see
That's
when
a
he was
pretty
walking
good
in the
Coach
stadium?
O right there. That's not bad.
Yeah. Go Tigers. That sissy boy blue shirt you got on. Yeah, so line 24, I believe at last look, and I'll find it while you go. Oh, here we go. We got LSU 24, total 56. Well, let's talk about LSU South Carolina a little bit from last week since we haven't. What a hell of a game, man.
Great game, unbelievably enjoyable, and man, if I had not bought stock in Nussmeier, but dude looked the part, and I think he played through like a concussion and a half, or I mean because that South Carolina defensive front is legit, but here comes here comes. I will say this though. We have got to figure out a way that football in general, both NFL and college, streamline the replay process, because that was a 4-hour football game Saturday in the noon window. And I mean, not only did it feel like we were doing replays every other call, but the replays were taking like 5 minutes. So, I mean, we all want the calls to be right, of course.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it completely sucked any type of momentum, energy, flow out of the second half of that LSU South Carolina game, which was a great game. It was a great game. And
Great game.
Can whether we're talking about the pass interference that decided the Bengals Chiefs game Sunday afternoon, or the pick six that got nullified for South Carolina because the D lineman lit up the quarterback. Yeah, it's a penalty.
Kennard.
I mean,
Yeah.
but we're making calls now that are halfway across the field that don't have anything to do with the play. You know, I don't know. I don't want us to I don't want us to become over-regulated to where we're alienating what is the greatest game on the planet.
Yeah. Well, a couple things for LSU. It's a save the season win. I mean, they lose that game. Woo, boy. And they found them a running back. And they need a running back. And they found him in true freshman Caden Durham. And to your point, Nuss hung in there. He was getting knocked around, especially early, and no panic. Got them back in the game when it looked like they were going to get run the F out of there quick. And they stuck with it. And, and then for South Carolina, I mean, brutal loss. I mean, not almost on the level of Arkansas at Oklahoma State, but I was thinking Lenore Sellers might have been out for the season. Apparently not. I don't think he's going to play Saturday against Akron, but then they have an open date for Ole Miss. But you also, on the flip side of it, look at South Carolina could easily be 3-0, and then beat Akron this week, be 4-0, and then have 2 weeks to prepare for Ole Miss coming to what, if you're undefeated, what might be the biggest game in Williams-Brice history, perhaps on October 5th. So, but when the Sellers apparently okay. Not for this week, but hopefully by Ole Miss, I think South Carolina is still going to have a much better season than I anticipated back in the summer.
Well, I don't know if any of us had any idea how great that D-line was going to be.
Exactly. Because I had not watched Kennard much, transfer from Georgia Tech, and Dylan Stewart's true freshman. But not just those two guys. The tackles on the inside are great. Debo Williams is fantastic at linebacker. I'm going to assume.
Hey, is there some sort of like federal law that South Carolina's got to have somebody named Debo on the roster at some point in time every single season? I mean, they've got a Debo, and then next year they'll have a Debo, and then the year after that, you know who they're going to have? They're going to have a Debo, and he's probably going to make plays. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, God bless America, God bless South Carolina, and God bless Debo.
That's right. And I'm going to assume that Akron, South Carolina is a pass on your end. All right. Well, it is for me. It was 28 at last look, but I don't think Sellers is going to play. All right. Let's get to let's take a timeout. Are you an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify? Or are you an employee that's simply tired of answering to the man? If so, let me tell you about our guy, Andy Ludecke, and his business, myperfectfranchise.net. Like you, Andy had it with corporate America. He was married with a kid and another on the way. He wanted to start his own business and did just that. Now he has multiple businesses and he can help you do the same thing. Here's how it works. You go to Andy's website, myperfectfranchise.net. You set up an intro call, a 1-hour consultation, and it's 100% free. That's the best part about it. And Andy is passionate about this, and he wants to help you. He wants to know your passions, skills, goals, and the time and money you have to invest in this endeavor. Then Andy figures out what sort of business fits your DNA. He registers you with potential franchises. He'll find the best franchise that suits the vision and corporate culture you want. And before you know it, you'll be on your way, and Andy will have you making greenbacks galore. So what are you waiting for? Reach out to Andy Ludecke at myperfectfranchise.net. All right, let's go to Auburn at Arkansas, ESPN, 3:30 Eastern kick. And go ahead, Jay, as I look for the spread.
It's the last I saw was Arkansas was getting 3.5, and I don't see any
Looks
way.
like
Go ahead.
I found it. BetOnline has Auburn at 3 with a total of 56.
There's no way you don't play Arkansas here. I mean, first, having watched every minute of last week's game, yes, the Hank Brown experiment was joyous, but it was New Mexico, and New Mexico moved the ball up and down the field against an Auburn defense that had a tough time tackling. Our boy Taylor Green's gonna have a whole lot of success operating in space against that Auburn defense.
I'm considering over 56. What are your thoughts on Auburn moving the ball against Arkansas's defense?
I am a little bit. I like Arkansas more than I like over the total, but the total, if you're going to play the total, over is the only way to go. But here's the thing that really scares me. Auburn's offensive line is not real good in pass protection. And when an SEC foe comes to town and Hank Brown's eyes get big, I'm not real certain how much they're going to be able to do. Now, I think Jarquez Hunter is going to have some success running the football against an Arkansas team. So yeah, I can see playing the over, but I'm on the Hogs this week. No kidding. And I say that with my Auburn visor and my Bruce Pearl golf shirt on.
Yeah, I lean Arkansas, and I will point out Sam Pittman, his tenure, Arkansas is 10-3 against the spread, 13 games as a road underdog. And I'll also point out, if Auburn's O-line is struggling, Landon Jackson for Arkansas is one of the nation's best pass rushers. So it's not an official play for me yet, and it might not end up being. But I lean Arkansas and over, assuming it's 56 or fewer, and it is 56 as we record.
Well, and hey, bro, I'm not afraid to tell you, I would actually probably go Arkansas money line and take the plus odds. What is that? Probably 130, 140.
Plus 125 at BetOnline, but there are some plus 130s out there. There's a plus 140 at the South Point in Vegas.
So, I mean, I mean, a field goal game either way, if you can get plus 130, plus 140, I'd probably roll some dice on the money line there.
All right. So Jay loves Arkansas. I'm a lean to Arkansas and over at 56 or fewer. All right. 4:15 p.m. Eastern kick. Vanderbilt at Missouri, and this line was hovering in the 20-ish to 21 range at last look, and I am currently looking
We
for.
crushed BC, by the way, last week. We
I
were
did. I
we
didn't.
were
You were. You did. I did not have that game. Good call by you, though. Okay,
the
here we go.
I mean, and I think Missouri's good, and I think Missouri's going to be a fringe playoff team, but BC's not going to apologize to anybody, and Bill O'Brien knows what he's doing.
Yep. Bet Online has got Mizzou at 20, a total of 53.5. I don't have Mizzou's box score from last week in front of me. And by the way, Vandy's plus 870 on the money line. But I remember looking at it, and the box score looked like Missouri won by more than a 27 to 21 score. So I only say that to just point out that, stats wise, it was a little, it wasn't necessarily a one possession game for whatever that's worth, if anything.
No, but Missouri had to come back though. BC
Right.
built an early lead.
Yeah.
So, one, I think Drinkwitz is a dude. Now, if Kiffin says no to the Gators offer, are you going to be okay with Drinkwitz?
I'm going to be okay with anybody that's better than Billy Bob, and he's way better,
Well,
way better than Billy
you
Bob.
and I could be. We could split OC responsibilities, and we're better than Billy Bob. Come on now.
Yeah, you are correct there. I really don't know who I want beyond Kiffin. I mean, I think it, now if Ohio State's season were to go south, or if USC's season were to go south, I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a big fan of Ryan Day, but I'd take him in a heartbeat. He's a proven winner, a proven recruiter in the state of Florida, recruiting as well. And then, I thought it was weak of Riley to leave Oklahoma for USC, especially with my disdain for the state of California with a K. But at the same time, Lincoln Riley can call some ball plays, and I would be okay with him because he can recruit as well. But that would take a lot of things happening. I mean, Ohio State and USC seasons, I don't know if they're going south. So outside of Kiffin, I mean, really, who is there? I mean, I guess Drinkwitz comes to mind, but I mean, I'm all for pulling a Mal Moore like he did with Saban and the Dolphins. And if Jimmy Sexton leads us to believe we got a chance, I want to wait it out, because to hell with the early signing period. Kiffin wants to load up in the portal anyway. So the early signing period means nothing to me, in terms of waiting on that. But if you wait and Ole Miss wins the Natty, is he going to leave after winning a Natty? I doubt it. So it's tough. It's a shit show. It's horrible. This is crazy. You've been there.
If I am Al B. Gator, I am flying to Bristol for Saturday, and I am making Nick Saban say no 3 times.
I mean, I'm not against that. I thought that you were about to say Jim Mora Jr., and I was just like, I've been through that rodeo before. Although
no,
I would take,
God,
I would,
no,
I
I
would,
don't. No to Chip Kelly, or no to John Gruden, or I mean, honestly, I only think there are like 2 or 3 names, and I think Kiffin is everybody's unicorn, and then, but I swear to goodness, if I'm Florida, I make certain Nick Saban knows that you win a natty at 3 different schools, and nobody's ever going to do that again. And because you want to talk about going from the outhouse to the penthouse, announce Nick Saban and Miss Terry are coming to Gainesville.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's still got plenty of energy. His brain is still functioning
He's great on game day.
Yes.
He is great.
Yes, he is. I love him on game day as well. All right, so no play on Missouri Vandy. I don't have a play.
No,
Uh,
I don't either. This feels like a game Missouri's going to be very, very content to win 21-13. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know
Or
what? And Vandy plays these guys tough. Vandy
yeah,
seems to play Missouri tough regularly. I wish I had a stat handy for it, but I remember the year they were when it really started to go south for Derek Mason. They actually beat them outright. Let's see, 2 years ago. Yeah, they covered as a 14-point dog. I think I was on them and they lost 17-14 out there. They covered in 2021 in a 37-28 game. Not so much in 2020, but that was the year Vandy went winless and that thing fell apart. All right, two games to get to. Let's go ahead and do Vols at Oklahoma, and then we'll get to Bowling Green and A&M. And by the way, you better not be sleeping on the Falcons of Bowling Green and former Mizzou quarterback Connor Bazelak, who had a lot of good moments in Happy Valley a couple of weeks ago, and the Falcons had 2 weeks to prepare for College Station. But Vols at A&M. So over the summer, this line was Oklahoma minus anywhere from 3 to 3.5 or 4. Last week, DraftKings had it -2 on the come out. I remember you mentioning, wow, I'd love to get Tennessee at 3 or less. But then I looked at it Friday, and it had gone from 3.5 up to 4. And then Saturday, it was up to 6. And now Tennessee minus Bet Online has moved to 7.5 with a total of 56.5, but mostly sevens still out there. Your thoughts here?
well, my thought is I'm amazingly pleased that when you were trotting out games of the year lines in July, I went and got on Tennessee at even money. But I'll lay the weight. Josh Heupel is going to show up. He's going to be motivated. Nico is that guy. I am 100% all in on Tennessee here. I'll lay 7. I'd even lay 10.
Oh, wow. So I still lean Tennessee at -7, and I may play them in the first half. But the only thing I think right now that I want to do is team total over 32.5 on the Vols. That is, but I think Tennessee's defense will get tested like they haven't been yet. I mean, let's remember NC State, who they trounced in week 2, was losing to La Tech at halftime. And look, I wouldn't have said there's a whole lot of shame in losing to La Tech 7 or 8 years ago at halftime, but this is not the La Tech's usually got a really good mid-major program. Not so much these days.
This is not
So
the Sonny Dykes law texters.
no,
No.
it's not. No, it is not. And it's not Skip Holtz's either. So yeah, well, I think Venables will have a good plan. We'll see how Jackson Arnold plays because he's been really up and down so
Agreed.
far. But team total over 32.5 for me. Okay, let's do Bowling Green at A&M. And let's see, do I have this is a 7:30 Eastern start on ESPN Plus, or if you have an SEC Network Plus. And I'm trying to find the flipping lines. Why don't they just do it in order of conferences? It'd make it a lot doggone. All right, here we go. Bet Online has A&M at 22.5 with a total of 51.5. I've been all week hoping to get a 24, and I would put a small play on Bowling Green because I ended up watching a decent amount of that Bowling Green Penn State game a couple weeks ago. The Falcons are legit, and we've seen Northern Illinois win at Notre Dame. We've seen Toledo throw down a pimp slap in Starkville. The top of the MAC seems to have some very capable teams. Bowling Green led until I think Penn State took its first lead midway through the third and only won 34-27. Any thoughts
I
from you?
I especially like it if you can get it under 52. I love the over here because the Aggies have got multiple home run hitters who are 88 and out the gate. I mean, almost on every snap, they've got dudes on the field who make one guy miss and they're gone. And you referenced the transfer quarterback. I think he's going to keep Bowling Green in the game, which is going to keep Texas A&M focused on scoring. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to look up and be surprised that this is 31-21 entering the fourth quarter, and then you're over.
Yeah, you make it. God, you make me think over there too. And by the way, if I'm Elko, Marcel Reed's my starter moving forward. Period.
Oh,
End of
yeah.
story.
No, yeah. You tell that other fella, hey, God bless you, man. We love you, and you have been great for the program, and yada yada yada. But Marcel Reed is a difference maker.
Yep.
He could be one of those guys.
Yeah, so I was already leaning Bowling Green. If I can get a 24, I'm doubting I'm going to get it. Maybe I'll just do the over. I will point out Bowling Green 11-5-1 against the spread last 17 as a road underdog. All right, let's go to some other picks, whether it's NFL or non-SEC. What you got, Jay?
I am all over Syracuse tomorrow night on a Friday night. We're taping this on Thursday. I love the Ohio State transfer quarterback. He
McCord,
is,
Kyle McCord.
I mean, McCord is, and Kyle McCord is a bona fide dude. Through 2 games, he's got 8 touchdown passes and almost 800 yards passing. And Stanford's got to fly. Nothing screams backyard ACC brawl like Stanford going to Syracuse on a Friday night, right?
Yes, yes, indeed. Some look ahead lines for next week. A&M is -9 to Arkansas at DraftKings. I certainly lean the Hogs there. What would you think on Oklahoma at Auburn?
Oklahoma -4.
Oklahoma -2.5. And that might be it for SEC.
No, hey, what's the big
Oh,
one?
Oh yeah, sorry,
The
my
big one.
apologies. Yeah, so that is Georgia -3 with a total of 49.5 at Alabama. I like Bama -3. They've won 8 of.
I love Georgia.
Well, you know that Georgia is still Alabama's bitch. 8 of 9, and they haven't been to Bryant Denny very often lately, but they haven't won at Bryant Denny since Stafford threw an overtime touchdown pass in 07. All right, let me give you a couple of my picks. Oh, let me give you the updated odds to win the SEC championship at Bet Online. Also, Georgia and Texas +200 co-favorites. Bama +500 or 5-1. Ole Miss 7-1. Tennessee 9-1. Interest you?
Well, it doesn't interest me now. I mean, I got it at 16-1 2 weeks ago.
That's right. My apologies. I forgot. Mizzou 14-1, A&M 25-1, and LSU and Oklahoma are 28-1. Auburn 150-1. Everybody else 500-1. All right. I like Tulane -3 at Louisiana.
Yeah, I do too. I like that. I like that. That's in my picks on timesfreepress.com.
Yep, I like that one. And I also like Indiana -28. Let's buy the half point from 28.5 against Charlotte. Charlotte down to its third string quarterback. Kirk Cignetti is legit. And I like Cincinnati -3.5 at home to Houston. Brendan Sorsby playing really good football. I like Georgia Tech +10 or 10.5 at Louisville. Brent Key 13-3 against the spread with 10 outright wins and 16 games as an underdog. And then give me Cal +2.5 at F Stick U, and Wilcox 18-9 ATS as a road dog, 30-15 against the spread as a dog of any sort, home, away, neutral. The Noles 8-13 against the spread, 21 games a home favorite under Norvell, and they are awful in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
All right. Let me ask you this though, because as miserable as you are lamenting the Gators, do you not at least take some joy about how suckitude FSU is? Because Memphis beat them and pushed them around.
and
Memphis,
should have won by a lot more.
hell yeah, they should have. I mean, Memphis shoved them up and down the football field.
Yeah, big time in the trenches everywhere. Yeah, that was not a one possession football game. I don't know how Memphis did not put those guys away much earlier, but yes, I am taking everything going on with Florida is so much less painful because of what's going on in Tallahassee. And by the way, his buyout's like 80 freaking million right now.
Well, yeah, but you can't fire him. They went
Oh, I
undefeated
know.
last year. I
I know.
Granted, he may be Gene Chizik 2.0. I mean, he may have the one great year, and then 3 years from now we're going holy buckets. But okay, fine. But I mean, I do hope the SEC is better when Florida is good.
Yeah, and man, if we don't get Kiffin though, I don't know where in the world we're going.
Man, oh
So,
man.
okay, any NFL? So I'm gonna have to get out of here when this phone rings for a Clemson radio show, but it hasn't rung yet. I like the Bucks -6.5. I like the Patriots tonight +6 or 6.5, and I like the Commanders +7.5 because I'm a Jaden Daniels guy. Who you like NFL? Anybody?
Hey, your Jaden Daniels man love is where we need to end the show.
There we go. Well, all right. For Jay Greeson, I'm Brian Edwards. We apologize for the technical difficulties earlier in the show. It seemed like it worked itself out pretty good the last 20 minutes or so. Good luck to everybody on their bets this weekend. And we'll talk to you next week. Over and out.